Hi, I'm Isabella and I'm the founder of Atha Yoga. Today I want to share a few basics with you. What is Atha Yoga about? So Atha Yoga is based on the old Indian concept of the 5 elements that's also used in Ayurveda, the Indian medicine. And in Atha Yoga we try to understand how these elements are applied in the practice of the physical yoga, the so-called asanas. So the 5 elements I'm talking about are earth, water, fire, air and space. And the 5 elements represent certain qualities, and we find these qualities in the postures, in the physical postures of yoga. So when we make a yoga sequence, then we consciously apply this knowledge of the elements for our sequencing. Normally, in a regular class, we always start with the earth element that represents tranquility, stability, quietness. So we take it before we go into a movement or yoga pose, we just hold in, try to feel ourselves, try to get quiet, to turn the attention inward. And only then we start with the poses. After having found a little bit of our inner peace at the beginning of the class, we go on with the water element. That means we do circular movements to warm up the body. They should be very easy because basically what water does is it flows downwards, which means there is no effort involved. So all movements that don't involve effort have a high quality of the water element. We don't immediately jump into strengthening our body or do challenging poses. We do things that are really easy. We want to loosen up the joints and feel some kind of flow, feel the energy flowing. So then this is how we step into the quality of the water element. And we do, for example, very simple circular movements even before we do sun salutations, because sun salutations are already a bit more intense. They already have a bit more of a fiery quality because, for example, we need arm strength for a few poses that are involved in the sun salutations, and everything that requires strength, also muscular strength, has to do with the fire element. Because the fire is the element that consumes, it goes on. As long as there is something to consume, it goes on. It's associated with willpower. We go on until we finish. So we don't give up easily. This is the energy of the fire element. When we move on with the standing postures, also with squats and half squats, we use already more of the fire element qualities. Why? Because these postures involve a lot of muscular strength, and muscular strength is associated with the fire element. You're probably familiar with the warrior poses, and as you have practiced them, you might have noticed that they require a lot of strength. So this is why they are associated with the fire element. This is our muscular strength and also our willpower to not give up if it's just a bit difficult. No, we go through it, we hold the pose, we maintain it. And if you think back now, how did we start the class? With the earth element and then the water, and now we're with fire. So we don't jump into challenging poses right from the beginning. We don't start with a challenging variation of a sun salutation because we want to get prepared for this. This is why we consciously introduce first the earth and then the water, and only then we move to the fire element. And we do all these poses, standing, squatting, half squatting, that are quite a bit challenging. If we want to increase the work with the fire element, we can do arm balancings, for example, a handstand. Then we can really feel the intensity of the muscular work that is involved in doing a pose like this, or a crow pose, for example. And after these challenging poses, the standing, the hand balancing, we move over to the air element, which means we do poses that open up the chest. Of course, the air element has been present throughout the whole class because we have been breathing all the time. But now we want to increase the qualities of the air element by opening our chest in backbends. We increase our inhalations and exhalations, and like in nature, when the fire is already burning and then you increase the air, the fire even gets more intense, burns more. So when you do a backbend like a cobra or like a bridge pose, you combine the qualities of the fire and the air element. These poses are very intense. They're also physically challenging, because you move in a direction that normally you don't move in your daily life. And also in terms of the elements, you really make the fire burn, and you add the air so that it really burns well, and you open up the chest so that the air has a lot of space. So we can say that no matter how you design your class, the backbend will always be kind of a peak pose. Many teachers think that any pose can be the peak pose. You can just choose as a teacher, today I'll make, a twist a peak pose, or I make a standing pose a peak pose, or I make a forward pose a peak pose. And yes, you can choose the pose as the main pose that you are focusing on. But in terms of the intensity, also the physical and energetic intensity, the backbend will always be the most intense part of the class, unless you do very acrobatic hand balances. These maybe could also be peak poses. But, well, if I think about it, I think the intensity of a backbend is energetically always the peak of the class. Like in nature, it's very, very good and important to have fire because it warms you so nicely. But it can also be very dangerous because it can be very destructive and burn things. So one has to be very careful how to deal with the fire element. In the classes, that means that after having increased the air and increased the fire, you have to bring it down. You have to make it smaller again. And we do this by doing poses that don't open the chest anymore, that still require strength, like for example, boat poses. But you can literally feel that the strength that you need, it's already in the abdomen, and the chest can be quite closed already. So we don't increase the air anymore, we bring the fire down. To bring back our bodies to this very calm and small flame, we use postures like twists. We could also use side bends, but twists are even a bit better because you can remain quietly in the pose, very firm, and breathe very quiet and consciously, and just feel like a very steady but yet very quiet flame. And then the time has come to put the fire out again. We move back to the water element. This we do with seated forward bends. We remember the qualities of the water element. It's no effort, flowing downwards. This is the energy that we need to move in the forward bend. Some yoga teachers might actually not use the word forward bend. They might substitute it by the word forward stretch, because they want you to lengthen your spine and to remain stretched. And for some people, this is actually really good. It really totally depends on your back, on your spine. And if you have a condition, for example, like a scoliosis or something similar, then it might actually be better to do the pose with a stretched back. If you don't have any back problems, it's actually good if you allow yourself to sink into a forward bend and not stay stretched or with a straight back all the time. A healthy spine can do this without any problem, and on an energetical level, it's very good because you can let go of all the effort that you have used before when you did all these poses that were related to the fire element. Now we are ready to enter again that quiet space that we already found at the beginning of the class. And now we go back to it. We find some sitting posture, like a cross-legged posture. For those who can do it, can also be a lotus pose, a full lotus, to find back the quality of the earth element, this stillness, the tranquility, the quietness at the end of the class. If you're an advanced student, you can then go on with poses like head and shoulder stand that represent the qualities of the space element, because these poses help you especially to feel the space in your head. It feels like very spacious, wide and quiet there. And no other poses can do the same thing on your mind. Amazingly, these poses can really calm the mind down, that you feel the vastness of the space. I said before, these poses are for advanced students because they really require good preparation, good foundation. You need to have worked on the qualities of the other elements, the earth, the water, the fire and the air. And once you've worked well with all these qualities, then, only then, you can enter into the qualities of the space element. And then we can come to the end of the class, which is the final relaxation or deep relaxation. That's kind of another step of the earth element. You really enter very intensely into relaxation, not doing anything, just being present, just being there like earth in this moment, and you feel as if you could be there forever, like a mountain that stands there so quietly for thousands of years, and you almost don't notice any change. If the yoga sequence has been very balanced, we have strengthened 4 qualities. The openness of the air element, the strength of the fire element, the effortless flowing of the water element, and the quietness of the earth element. This is how we work with all the elements in one yoga sequence in the Atha yoga.